Clarence Thomas has now provided a dissent, contrary to all of the conservatives, by the way, as well as everybody else, but perfectly in line with his wife, Jenny Thomas. Clarence Thomas is now saying that coronavirus vaccines are developed from aborted children, a claim debunked by actual scientists many years ago. So let's get into it. Quite fascinating. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas wrote Thursday in a dissenting opinion that coronavirus vaccines are developed using cells from aborted children. Now that's important to note. He put in his dissent, aborted children, okay? Thomas dissented on the Supreme Court's refusal to hear a case challenging New York's vaccine mandate based on religion. Thomas wrote, and I quote, "They object on religious grounds to all available COVID-19 vaccines because they were developed using cell lines derived from aborted children." Thomas wrote in his dissent referring to the plaintiffs that brought the lawsuit. Now, I've told you this before, the unraveling of Roe v. Wade, while there are some who celebrated this, remember, this allows them to now unravel by way of judicial theory, to unravel many other rights that you believed you had, okay? There's more. The plaintiffs in their emergency request to the Supreme Court said the vaccines were made with, and I quote, abortion-derived fetal cell lines in testing, development, or production. And in their petition for a writ, they said vaccines were made with voluntarily aborted fetuses, fetal cells obtained from elective abortions of miscarriages, abortion-derived fetal cell lines, and aborted fetuses cell lines. So remember, that's the language is somewhat different than what Justice Thomas wrote. Thomas said they came from aborted children, all right? Another distinction here. Some vaccines have used fetal cell lines during early stages of vaccine development, but the final products do not, none of them contain aborted fetal cells as proclaimed. Additionally, these fetal cells came from elective abortions performed decades ago and were not done for the purpose of vaccine development, according to Axios. The use of fetal cell lines is actually common when developing any, let me say that again, any vaccination, not just for coronavirus, right? A major institute, conservative think tank said, an anti-abortion research organization said that the Pfizer and Moderna COVID vaccines were found to be, and I quote, ethically uncontroversial for their use of fetal cells to demonstrate how a cell could take up mRNA and produce the coronavirus spike protein. So this is settled not only by conservative think tanks, this is settled by medical science. And according to the ruling, this is actually settled by way of other Supreme Court justices who happen to be conservative. But it's not settled as far as Clarence is concerned. Clarence Thomas, excuse me. It's not settled with him. Once again, his ruling does not align to the conservatives on the bench, but it aligns with the advocacy and belief of his wife, Jenny Thomas. In defending his vaccine mandate, lawyers for New York also noticed that laboratory-grown stem cells, which derived from cells collected from a fetus nearly 50 years ago, were also used for testing the rubella vaccine. There it is, right? We have a Supreme Court justice who is finally showing his true colors, no pun intended. But he is coming out with a vengeance. Think about this. 100% of his judicial rulings have always perfectly aligned to his wife's public advocacy, her conspiracy theories. He ruled in favor for Trump when all of the conservatives on the bench ruled against the madness Trump was trying to push. He voted the other way. Think about it. His wife keeps coming up in the January 6th investigation. They're not going to talk to her. I never believed it was going to happen in the first place, even when she volunteered and then took it back. There's a problem here. All right, Jeff, thoughts?
Citation needed, Justice Thomas. He is going a long way to avoid talking about Loving versus Virginia. It's getting very convenient. I can expect this kind of analysis from a social media username that has a name and a bunch of numbers at the end. But this is a well-respected man, well, despite what Anita Hill tried to tell us decades ago, making these decisions for very obvious reasons, as you just alluded to, Dr. Richey. I don't know where this is going with him. And actually the future is getting very scary when it comes to rights and restrictions and everything that's gonna come along with what we thought we had. So he doesn't need evidence or facts to make these decisions either. And there's gonna be a slew of individuals who's gonna back him for whatever he says moving forward.
That's right. That's right. He's setting the stage for something. You got to remember, this isn't the first time he's provided a wink and a nod to a conspiracy theory. He even did it in the last major summary with Roe v. Wade being overturned. He comes out and now he's talking about the dynamic of gay marriage in America. He's sending hints, he's sending code to those who are picking it up. So he's setting up the stage for something we're going to continue to follow.